He earns approximately $25,000 to $30,000 more than me. He repossessed her car from her, and we're not sure about the insurance. I now bear the full brunt of her insurance and getting her back and forth to school. We actually lived together during the divorce. We actually slept in the same bed still.
Regarding custody, Ms. Massey, this is your motion, so you may proceed.
The current custody agreement is 50-50 physical and legal. The current support agreement is 50-50 of medical and dental costs. I am requesting full physical and joint legal custody of Rihanna Arnold due to Danny Arnold Jr.'s negative behaviors towards Rihanna Arnold, and because Rihanna refuses to stay at his home and they are currently estranged. I am requesting a child support calculation be completed as well due to Rihanna not staying at her father's home and because he earns approximately $25,000 to $30,000 more than me. I also request that the defendant follow the agreement of 50-50 medical and dental costs, because as of this date, he has not paid any of the bills submitted since May of 2023.
And I'm, Ms. Massey, I'm looking at your, I think it was one of the, maybe not a brief, but it's kind of an explanation of the case a little bit, I think you filed. And in it, you say that defendant has not reached out to Rihanna since July of this year. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, and so you filed your motion on June 29th. Has Rihanna gone to Mr. Arnold for parenting time since June 29th?
Yes, she hasn't. We haven't followed the parenting time this entire time.
All right. So she has not.
No, she has not seen him. No.
All right. You said that you and Mr. Arnold have not followed the parenting time order since you were divorced. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's take a look at your judgment of divorce. So you and Mr. Arnold were divorced on August 19th of last year. For parenting time, it just says parenting time arrangements will be by mutual agreement of the parties. So there was, in this case, there was never an order specifically saying when Rihanna would be with either one of you. So I guess my question is, going with the date of your divorce, August 19th, 2022. Let's do this. Between August 19th of last year and the date that you filed your motion in June, between those two dates, did Rihanna go at all to Mr. Arnold for parenting time?
Yes.
Okay, so one moment. Okay, so that's between August 19th of last year and June 29th of this year. And was it consistent during that period of time?
She spent less than 10 nights there. And I'm not even sure if she's seen him more than 15 times in the past year. I mean, it could be. I can't say for sure. I'm not with her at all times.
Okay.
But I know she has not spent more than 10 nights there, and she does not go over to see him.
Have you had any changes to your income since the divorce?
It's the same. I work for the same employer.
To your knowledge, have there been any changes in Mr. Arnold's income since the divorce?
Yes.
All right. And so you're saying there's been a change in his income since August 19th of last year?
Yes. He has changed jobs.
Okay.
And I'm not sure about his VA income because I know that varies for expenses, and he does get paid for Rihanna as her dependent, as his dependent.
Has Mr. Arnold's job change affected you financially?
I don't think so, because he hasn't been providing anything financially.
And you and Mr. Arnold agreed at the time of the divorce that there would be child support would be $0. Would you agree with that?
At the time of the divorce, we agreed that child support would be $0.
What has changed from that time to make you now want child support?
The fact that she refuses to see him. She doesn't spend any nights over there. He gives me issues every time I submit bills to him to pay. He doesn't reimburse me. And the fact that he is earning more funding at this time.
So let's focus first on Rihanna. Now, you said that between August 19th of last year and June 29th of this year, that she spent less than 10 nights total with Mr. Arnold.
Correct.
Okay, so it sounds like at no time since the judgment was entered, has Rihanna wanted to spend any time with her father?
She has wanted to spend time with him at different times. I would say different situations arose. So it's come to the point where they're estranged.
I guess, but I mean, less than 10 overnights total. It sounds like she never really went to Mr. Arnold for overnights after the divorce was entered, except for just on a handful of occasions. Was she going to him just for daytime period of time, or was that, could you just?
Maybe she'd go after school, or he'd invite her to go out to dinner, or maybe she would just go over there and hang out and play video games or something like that.
And you're saying that that changed?
It did.
And when did that change?
I would say maybe around February, March of 2023.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the changes then is that Rihanna no longer, after February or March of this year, no longer wanted to go to her father for those kind of daytime visits. Is that what I'm to understand?
I would say they were having more disagreements, and it was having effects with her wanting to spend time with him. Yes.
Has that change affected you financially?
Yes.
And how so?
Well, the fact that she doesn't go over there at all means that she's here all the time. I'm bearing all the expenses for Rihanna.
And can you tell me a little bit? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
The expenses I bear for Rihanna?
Yes.
Well, I pay for her phone bill. Her dad turned that off. He no longer pays for that. He repossessed her car from her. We're not sure about the insurance. I now bear the full brunt of her insurance and getting her back and forth to school. I pay for all her medications, prescribed or not prescribed. I pay for her breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. I pay for all of her clothing. I pay everything for her. And I'm not receiving any reimbursement. So it might not impact someone if $50, but $50 for someone on a fixed income does impact them.
So when you say reimbursement, I know you had referenced the medical reimbursement, and let's just leave that out for a minute. Is this a case where you were getting reimbursed for other types of child-related expenses after the divorce? Was that happening at all?
A little bit, yes.
So You're saying that stopped?
Yes. I would say communication became worse. I would send a text for reimbursement with the proof of receipts, and I wouldn't get a response.
Is Rihanna in high school?
Yes.
What grade?
She's a senior.
And what is her expected month of graduation?
June 2023.
2024.
24. Oh, geez. Yes, 2024.
You mentioned that up until February or March of this year that Rihanna would visit from time to time with her father, daytime visits, the occasional overnight. Was that what the visit was like going through the divorce case, but prior to actually the conclusion of it?
We actually lived together during the divorce. We actually slept in the same bed still.
I'm looking at one of the documents you filed, and it refers to Rihanna's car. It was item number 4. Is that an issue at this point?
Still an issue, because the defendant and I had a contract between us that is not covered in the divorce. I agreed to buy our first child his car. He agreed to buy our second child a car. And then now he's taken it away. So there is still that issue. From what I understand, I can still file a civil for that because it's regarding other. So that will be a civil case I am going after. The other part of the car is that he did repossess it. He sent a repossession tow truck to her workplace twice, recorded her once. She was having a mental breakdown, and she's made the decision that he can keep it. She doesn't want to have to struggle with that with him. So, but he won't give her back her personal possessions, and she gives him money.
And for item number 3, you wrote that you are still paying for defendant's dental plan. So at the time of the divorce, did you have Mr. Arnold removed from your health insurance?
He was never on my health insurance. So VA benefits, so the insurance and dental is very low cost to them. So that's where we get the dental from. The thing is that the dental is his dental plan. I was paying for him, and
how are you paying for that?
It's coming out of my bank account. I did submit paperwork within 2 weeks ago to stop that because he's not even reimbursing me. So I'm paying for his dental and I'm not getting reimbursed. And the kids are also underneath.
Is his name on the bank account that they're being withdrawn from?
No,
Right. So this court does not have jurisdiction over the manner in which Mr. Arnold funds his own health insurance.
I did submit a form to the dental company to withdraw my approval for the ACH since we're divorced and I shouldn't be paying for it.
So to the extent you're being billed for his health insurance, I mean, ultimately that's an issue. The insurance company is taking your property, so you have a claim against the insurance company. I don't think this court has a jurisdiction case to address that issue. If for some reason, I'll leave it at that issue.
Hopefully it's taken care of. So
Rihanna will turn 18 in 3 days.
she's very excited.
Good. That's good. So that means in 3 days, this will no longer have jurisdiction over anything related to child custody, and this court will not have jurisdiction over anything related to parenting time. So because of that, there will be no court order regarding custody in 3 days. There will be or will be of no further force or effect. And all court orders regarding parenting time will be of no further force or effect in 3 days. That goes for any kind of orders that would require either one of you to use AppClose or Our Family Wizard. Any orders that you could imagine that would pertain to your parenting of your child in 3 days will be of no further force or effect. And I'm sorry that you are seeking relief from the court to impose orders regarding those kinds of issues. But because Rihanna will be turning 18 in a matter of days, this court cannot grant the relief requested regarding any of the issues regarding custody or parenting time. Child support's a different matter. So it's right. It says, obviously right in your judgment of divorce. On page 2 of your uniform child support order, it indicates that a child attending high school on a full-time basis after turning 8 years old is entitled to support. I understand that this was a judgment that was not prepared by an attorney. So for some reason, Rihanna's name is not listed in there as a recipient of post-majority support. But if in fact she is still in high school, even though she'll be turning 18 in 3 days, child support is still going to be ordered to be paid until the month in which she graduates from high school, assuming that she is attending high school on a full-time basis at this time. I don't know if that's a point of contention. I guess we'll have to get into that. But there are valid child support issues that this court does have jurisdiction to address today. So custody issues are moot. Parenting time issues are moot. Child support issues are not. Child support issues are in play. That's why I've been asking you questions about your finances and about any change of circumstances that might have occurred. Okay, so I think that kind of provides some guidance as to where the hearing can go today. Ms. Massey, did you have any witnesses that you wanted to call?
The only witness I had was unable to be here today, but since custody is mute, there would be no purpose to call her.
Tracy Osborne gave me an envelope that you dropped off. Was that you or was that you, Mr. Arnold?
Oh, there.
That was you. Okay, so I've got an envelope. Miss Massey, did you have exhibits that you wanted to show at this point? I wasn't sure what you were planning with that.
So my biggest issue then is the bills that are not being paid and Rihanna's personal property, because the rest of them were custody related.
Okay, so I guess first of all, the personal property issue, I'm going to review again to your judgment of divorce.
But this is Rihanna's property. It's even school property.
Well,
Sir,
so,
I'm sorry.
Mr. Arnold and Miss Massey, personal property, I guess, as far as the right to personal property, that's a factual issue. To the extent there's a disagreement as to whether this is Mr. Arnold's property or your property, Miss Massey, or the property of a third party, and that's who Rihanna is to your case. She's the third party, and that's a factual issue. To the extent that this is property that would be arguably either one of yours, personal property was addressed in your divorce, and as far as individual items like a Wii remote, for instance, your judgment was silent on that. So to the extent there's an issue as to that, if either one of you wanted to assert a right to personal property that you feel was not addressed in your judgment of divorce, your recourse would be to file a motion for relief from that judgment and ask it to address the personal property that you feel is yours. And I'm talking to both of you here, that was not appropriately awarded to you in your judgment of divorce. If one of you believes that this is third parties, Rihanna's, then if you want to get that property back, you would need to, I would suppose, file a case in district court for claim and delivery, or file a small claims court case for money damages on behalf of that third party. Rihanna is going to be 18, so she will have the authority to file these cases on her own in 3 days. That would be her recourse if she believes that she has property that's hers, that's being wrongfully withheld. But none of these issues are custody or parenting time or child support issues, and that's all this court can address.
Okay.
Now, the medical bills, and you're talking about medical bills, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, and we reviewed this at the settlement conference. You, Miss Massey, have a right, and so do you, Mr. Arnold, in your judgment of divorce, your child support order, it indicates that all uninsured healthcare expenses will be paid 50-50. And it says that uninsured expenses incurred on behalf of the minor children that are not paid within 28 days of a written request may be enforced by the friend of the court. So for either one of you, and particularly as to you, Miss Massey, because you're indicating this is a problem, your recourse to compensation from Mr. Arnold is through the office of the friend of the court. And we reviewed their procedure at the settlement conference for you to get them involved in helping you collect money from Mr. Arnold for unpaid medical bills. And so first, you have to submit the claims to all available insurance. Third, you submit the request for healthcare expense payment to Mr. Arnold. Then, if he does not either reach an agreement with you or pay you as requested within 28 days, at that point, you would file a complaint for enforcement of healthcare expense. That's a form available through our friend of the court. You would file that form with the friend of the court, follow all the directions, so that you have that avenue of relief available to you, and that's the appropriate avenue to pursue that compensation. So for that reason, this court finds that the request for compensation for unpaid medical bills by Mr. Arnold is a request for relief that already exists to you, Miss Massey, through that friend of the court process. And so for that reason, this court, court, that's a relief that's already put to you, Miss Massey. Yes.
Yes, sir. Do we still follow that same course of relief, even though Mr. Arnold and I have an agreement of how we submit it?
Yes.
Okay. So
because your informal agreement is not, it's not court order.
Okay. So because we did do the mediation and we have a certain way that we submit it, and that's how it's worked this entire time until he decided he didn't want to pay me. So now we have to switch up the process and we'll follow this route.
That's right. So that was ultimately, even though it was a mediation agreement, it was not the order. So if that's not working, you need to turn to the normal friend of the court process. All these forms, and I'm reading right. I got this right off the court website. That's where you go. So that issue is essentially relief that's already been granted to you, at least you have an avenue to address that. So
Your Honor, can I say something about the she's referencing?
no, because at this point, the court finds that issue is moot because there's already a remedy available that Miss Massey can.
The problem is with that is she's not following it.
That's something that will have to be addressed between the two of you and the friend of the court ultimately.
I mean, I have no problem paying her what she's asking. It's just the manner in which she's doing it.
All right. Well, that's something that obviously is going to have to be addressed by the office of the friend of the court. They've got a very efficient way of doing that. So I would encourage you to proceed down that avenue.
Yes, sir.
So, but child support itself and the request for a recalculation of child support remains before this court at this point. Ms. Massey, you've provided testimony regarding your financial circumstances, and you indicated you believe that there's been a change in those circumstances. Did you wish to offer any of the exhibits in support of explaining your financial circumstances?
No, I don't think so.
All right, then. Okay. So at this point, then, Mr. Arnold, did you have any questions for Ms. Massey?
I don't directly.
Okay.
More so for the court, though.
Well, let's do this. So Ms. Massey, then plaintiff rests, and Mr. Arnold, what would you like to say, I guess, regarding the child support issue?
Yes, sir. So part of the reason Rihanna doesn't come over anymore is because of the negativity that her mom is giving her divorce. Page 2, paragraph 11, it states that no one parent can put the children, talk bad essentially about the other parent. I have text proof that shows that Diana is telling everything that I say to her to my daughter, which is causing more suffering or, strife between me and my kids. And this is part of the reason Rihanna doesn't come over to my house anymore. Also, what Diana fails to mention too is that we have a son who, while Rihanna was over at her house most of the time, my son was here, to which I always told my son he should go over and spend time with his mom because he would spend long periods of time here and would not spend time over there. But every time that I would try to talk to Diana or Rihanna, one or the other would butt in and start causing problems. I have tried to follow the divorce and the agreements that we have, but Diana is making this so hard for me. It is ridiculous. We went through mediation to solve a payment issue, and we had a payment issue, but what Diana's doing is she's taking Rihanna to appointments, not making the payments, and then at some point further down the line, making a payment and then submitting a large group of payments to me, to which I have one that was sent to me via Old Town Psychological, which is dated well before, well, the statement's dated 9/29/23, in the amount of $933 for appointments that go back before 9/19/2022. Diana has not submitted none of this. I had to go to Old Town Psychological to figure this out. So now I'm being stuck with a bill from Diana because she's not making payments and then submitting them when Rihanna goes to the doctor. She's hoarding the payments and submitting them all at once, which makes a financial burden on myself. I've told Diana on days that Rihanna goes to appointments and she makes the co-pays or whatever payments, that she was to submit those to me within 48 hours. And then I had, per the mediation, 14 days to pay her, which is not a problem. I have no problem paying what she's owed. The child support problem is that she is telling my daughter things that don't need to be told to her, that's supposed to stay between me and her. And that's what's causing the issue. And that's why Rihanna stays at her mom's house. Now my son doesn't even come here, even though now he's in college. This past, weekend, it was a problem because she's telling them things that they don't need to know about between me and her. That's supposed to be kept between me and her.
What does Danny do now?
He's in college at MSU, full-time student there.
When he's not at school, where is he?
He lives in a dorm there.
But I was not there.
He came down for he was on I guess like a vacation or whatever. Well, not vacation. They had time off, so he came down for the weekend.
And what happened?
He came and I guess his mom asked me to co-sign for student loans for him. which I can't because I've ran up so much credit because Diana, I essentially gave everything to Diana in the divorce except for a couch and a chair. That was it. I didn't really take anything but other than like what I had acquired before that.
All right.
So for her to sit here and say that, yes, I'm not gonna lie and say I don't owe her some money, but I do owe her some money. But in the manner of which she's trying to collect it from me, right or fair. It's not per the mediation agreement. And the fact of the dental coming out of her account was agreed upon, both of us. Health insurance comes out of my account, dental came out of hers. The cost is very much the same. I think there's like a $20 difference. So then I would give her half of that because that's what it was. That was what was agreed upon. Plus, I would pay half of any co-pays and prescriptions and stuff. Like, I have no problem with that. It's just the problem in which she's bringing it to me. She hoards all of these receipts and then sends them all at once instead of on the days of service.
And again, I mean, that will be subject to the friend of the court process. They've got a whole forms that explain the process. I've just explained it. So to the extent there are issues, Mr. Arnold, that you're having with Miss Massey or vice versa, that can all be addressed through the friend of the court. And that would be the appropriate avenue to do that. Did you have anything to offer regarding the child support issue? Because that's really the only thing before the court at this point.
No, like I said, I think the child support goes back to Rihanna not coming here because, you know, of what her mom's telling her about me and the conversations we have that she doesn't need to hear. I think awarding child support, you know, to me, I feel it is not warranted because there's no reason Rihanna can't come here. If Diana would not be telling Rihanna the conversations that me and her have, yes, we don't agree on a lot of things now. We did before, but we don't now. But that's not for Rihanna to hear. So she's, I guess, skewing or feeding Rihanna, you know, bad images of me, and that's not for her to hear. And I don't think that's fair to me. So that's why I feel that Rihanna doesn't want to come around.
And to your knowledge, is she attending high school full time?
See, that's another question I have too, because just about every day, and I can show you my phone, I get a call from the school saying Rihanna was not in this class or not in school at all. I have probably about 10 of them. And actually, I just got a call right now from the school saying she's not there. And Diana is supposed to tell me these things, but she doesn't. Just like she's supposed to tell me when Rihanna goes to appointments. Yes, it's hit or miss with that, but she never tells me when Rihanna is not in school. I get a call from the school. And like I said, I probably have over 10 voicemails in my mailbox right now that say Rihanna was not in school or missed a few classes. So for me to know if she's truly in school full time, I really don't know at this point.
Have you received any warnings regarding truancy?
I plan on going over to the school sometime next week. I've been really busy with work and haven't had time to go. So that's part of my plan, is to go over there next week, early during the week, to find out what is really going on, since I can't get any information out of Diana.
Is Rihanna participating in any kind of sports activities or anything like that?
Not that I'm aware of. I know she goes to Central High School for a portion of the day, and then the other portion she goes to CTC. Now, if that's changed, I don't know, but that's what it was at the beginning of the year.
She currently employed?
She works for Wendy's.
And
that's the last I knew.
Okay. When's the last time you saw her at Wendy's?
I'm not allowed to go over there because I tried to repossess the car and was given a year no trespass. I do see her mom's car over there from time to time when I drive by.
Right.
So I know she works there.
Anything else, Mr. Arnold?
Not at this time, sir.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Massey, any questions for Mr. Arnold?
I do have some things to address that he said.
Okay, Mr. Arnold, was there anything else you wanted to address at this time?
Actually, yes. Actually, all of this honestly started when I took my girlfriend's son's honors ceremony and graduation. Before then, everything between all of us was fine. So it appears that because I moved on with my life, Diana got spiteful and didn't approve of that, because part of that was before that happened, we were supposed to have my son's graduation party here. And then after I took my girlfriend to this honor ceremony and my son's graduation, she said that that would no longer happen here. Then after that, my son quit his job and went to school full time at MSU. Shortly after that, I was served with papers for child support because Diana has a car financed in her name for my son that he is no longer paying for. So I feel that this is ultimately a money grab for her to make that car payment because my son is not paying on that or the insurance anymore. So like I said, none of this was a problem until I took my girlfriend to his graduation and honor ceremony. And that was back in around the time when she said, Rihanna, stop coming over here, which is when Rihanna started treating me really bad because her mom was treating me bad and feeding her information. Like I would tell Diana things, and my daughter was telling me things that only I had told Diana and not my daughter that she had information to. Diana was actually logging into my bank accounts that I was awarded in the divorce and seeing how much money I had in the bank account, to which I have proof.
And how much is Danny's car payment?
I want to say it's over $400 a month, but I'm not 100% sure. I'd never seen the paperwork on it. I could just kind of go by what he said.
All right. Okay.
So the fact that, I mean, how I feel is that this is all just her trying to stretch this and draw this out for no reason and put my kids against me because, like I said, I haven't seen Rihanna in months, not because of my fault, but because of what she's doing. You know, as far as Rihanna's personal property, I have no problem giving her that. And she knows that. I told her that in mediation. I just told her that she needed to come with somebody else because of all the problems that they were causing, calling the police. I told her it's in the mediation that her brother could have came with her to get all of her personal property. I don't want it. It's sitting in my basement right now in a closet. It's not mine. Claim it. It's hers. So for Diana to sit there and say I won't give it back, I've never said that once. It's in the mediation that I would give it back.
Again,
and I understand that
property issue is not before the court.
Right. Okay. But saying, you know, she's trying to sit here and say that, you know, I'm the one that's not, but I'm trying. Like I've heard conversations that I tried to have with my daughter with Diana butting in, saying stuff. And I also have some witnesses too that have heard me talk to Diana with Rihanna butting in. So it's, like I said, this goes against the whole, the paragraph in the divorce about not putting one parent against the other using the children. And that's what I feel she is doing to 100%. She sent my son here one day asking for a couch and a chair. And I told him, you know, I wasn't going to talk to him about it because it's not a discussion for me and him. And I get it, it's personal property, right? But I'm just saying, like, as far as, you know, all of this and where we are today, I feel that this is all just her trying to grab money for me for a couple of months until my daughter gets out of school. Like I said, there's no reason for my daughter not to come over here. My daughter was coming over here fine. We were having fun. She would come over for game nights, barbecues. I have witnesses for all of this. She was here when my parents came for my son's graduation and had no problem. I mean, she even told my girlfriend to call her when we would have game nights and make sure I invited her over. And I would every time. Once I took Rachel to that honor ceremony, that's when everything stopped. That's when her whole attitude changed. So there's really no, in my heart, there's really truly no reason Rihanna cannot come over here other than what her mom's told her. I mean, I have a full-time job. I have a food. Like I said, there's no reason. And as far as that goes too, I was not paying Diana anything extra other than medical expenses. I was not giving her any money for Rihanna's food or anything like that. It was only ever medical and dental expenses and for, you know, medications. So for her to say that I was paying extra or additional for expenses, that is a lie.
Okay.
You know, and my daughter has spent more than 10 nights at my house in the past. And, you know, within that past year, she's been over here more than 15 times. And I also have a witness for that too. My girlfriend lives here, so she knows.
The court will credit your time at that point.
15 days.
Okay. Anything else?
Not at this time, sir.
Okay. All right. Ms. Massey, did you want to offer a rebuttal?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, you may.
Regarding the personal property, he said he didn't say that she couldn't get it. In an email with the exhibits, Exhibit J1, it notes that she cannot get her personal property until she pays money to him for the insurance. That's my rebuttal to that.
He no longer owes me money because I don't.
Mr. Arnold, we got to take turns. So this Ms. Massey's turn now. We can come back to you later if you'd like.
The bills, he talks about the bills that I'm not paying. I can't pay the bills because I don't have the money to pay them sometimes at the point of service. She still has to go to these appointments because she does have mental illness, and in order to keep her safe, she goes to these appointments. These bills are sent to Danny Arnold Jr.'s address. Also, I have a text, Exhibit E, January 12th, which notes me telling him that there's a big bill at Teresa's office, and he didn't even respond to that text. So he knew about those. And I'm not trying to submit bills all in one big. I pay them and then I submit them. But if I don't,
Again, that's not that's not before there's another avenue, more appropriate avenue to address that through the friend of the court process.
Okay. And next he says it's all my behavior. Well, I have video recordings, tape recordings, and texts that support why Rihanna doesn't want to go to his house due to some of his behaviors. It's not because of me. It's because of his actions towards her, going to her work, having her mental breakdowns, or repossessing her car, yelling and screaming in her face, breaking plans with her. It's things like that why she doesn't want to spend time with him. The bank account that he's referencing, I was the primary holder on that bank account, and it does not notate anything in our divorce that my name will be taken off of that bank account. It says he will receive this amount in it, and I will receive these amounts. And for some reason, I know that he got my name off that bank account. I don't know how, but there's another issue at play here, and I'll let the bank contact me about that. So all these things that Danny is saying that is occurring, I'm not perfect, but he has done stuff to damage this relationship. Just because he's done stuff to damage this relationship doesn't mean he shouldn't have to pay for her. He still should have to be responsible to support her as much as I'm supporting her. And that's all I have to say about it.
And then Miss Massey, are you having to pay for Danny's car now?
It's in my name. I don't want my kids to work when they're at school. So yes, I will pay for his car. Just like I also pay for
have you started doing that?
Yes.
Because Danny wouldn't make the car payment anymore?
Well, I told him he doesn't have to work in college. It's not because he said he's not going to pay it. It's because he's in college, and I don't expect him to work in college when he's going to become an engineer.
Mr. Arnold, did you have any questions for Miss Massey?
I'm not saying I'm perfect, right? Obviously, I have a teenage daughter and a teenage son, and obviously, we have disagreements and arguments and stuff. I'm not saying that we don't, but like I said, the fact that Rihanna doesn't come over here, there's no reason that she shouldn't be able to or can't. I can provide for her here just like her mom's providing for her there.
For the reasons already stated on the record, there were a number of issues brought before the court today, but really the only issue that's really germane to this court and this jurisdiction at this time is the request for as to any issues regarding personal property. Those are really not properly before this court, and this court has already explained the other avenues that can be pursued by the parties to resolve any personal property issues. And again, this is a case where the child in question is going to turn 18 in 3 days, and therefore the court at that time will lose all jurisdiction regarding all issues pertaining to custody or to parenting time. So, and then there was another issue regarding a request for compensation of uninsured health. This court has explained that that issue is there's already an avenue to relief available to seek compensation for the bill. That avenue is available through the friend of the court system and process. And this court has explained that Ms. Massey should refer to those documents and instructions located on the friend of the court website to seek compensation for unpaid medical bills. It's a very detailed process, and it's an organized process, and that's the more proper avenue to pursue that request for relief. With respect to the issue of child support, the parties are, at this time, the parents of one support child. She, as noted, will turn 18 in 3 days. As to the issue of child support, the parties were divorced by a judgment of divorce entered on August 19th. Of last year. The parties agreed in that judgment that child support would be set at 0. The child support order indicated that it was based upon the agreement of the parties, as both parties waived the right to have a Michigan child support formula calculation completed. And the order continued that the defendant has private health insurance for the minor, at that time, minor children. The parties agreed to each pay 50% of uninsured medical expenses. Neither party is a recipient of public assistance on behalf of the minor children. In the event either party becomes a recipient of public assistance, a review of child support shall occur. This is a case where Miss Massey indicated that there's been a change in circumstances. A child support review can be ordered in the event of a change in circumstances, even when the parties previously agreed that there would be no exchange of child support. The court credits Mr. Arnold's testimony indicating that following entry of the judgment last August, that Rihanna, between roughly August and June of this year, Rihanna was with him at least 15 overnights. The court credits Miss Massey's testimony that during that period of time, that above and beyond the overnights for Rihanna, that Rihanna would also visit her father during the daytime at various times. So there was contact occurring, fairly regular contact based on this record. And the testimony was both parties that Rihanna has not gone to defendant for any parenting time whatsoever since plaintiff's motion was filed on June 29th. Plaintiff testified that the change in visitation actually occurred somewhat prior to that in the February-March time of this year, but it was uncontested that Rihanna is not going at all to Mr. Arnold at this time for parenting time. Miss Massey testified that as a result of that she is having to, pay more for just regular expenses for the child, since the child is in her care more often. Things like food, clothing. There was a phone bill that she's now paying for that I guess previously was paid for by Mr. Arnold. Apparently, there's car insurance for the child, although it's not clear why there would be car insurance if the child doesn't actually have a vehicle. The child previously had a vehicle that was provided by Mr. Arnold, but was ultimately repossessed by Mr. Arnold. Miss Massey indicated she is therefore also incurring some additional expenses regarding transportation, which was another change in circumstances for her. So essentially, her argument for change of circumstances is an increase in her expenses as a result of these changes. She conceded that there's been no change in her income, but nonetheless, she indicated that the change in expenses has affected her financially. Now, Mr. Arnold is essentially blaming Miss Massey for Rihanna not wanting to come to see him. And he's questioning, the good faith of Miss Massey in filing a request to have child support reviewed. He's suggesting that this is essentially a money grab by Miss Massey, that she has alienated him, and that on that basis, he's arguing that a review of child support is not appropriate. He also questions whether or not Rihanna is attending high school full-time. She's currently a senior. Under state law, a child over 18 years of age who is attending high school full-time will continue to be a child support child until, I believe, age 19 and a half, or until the month and year in which the child graduates. Mr. Arnold has not received any truancy warnings. He indicated that this might be because school's not in very consistent contact with him. He indicated, though, he is getting lots of telephone calls from the school regarding Rihanna missing classes. The court can't find on this record that Rihanna is not attending school full time. There's simply not enough evidence to show that. It's more likely, this court finds it more likely than not that she is attending school on a full-time basis and therefore is a legitimate support child. As far as change of financial circumstances for Miss Massey, in addition to the changes in expenses, the increase in expenses, there is also testimony indicating that she's now responsible for a $400 a month car payment for the party's 19-year-old, Danny. Understand that that's not a support child, but nonetheless, that's a new financial obligation that's impacting Miss Massey's household finances, and that would constitute a change in circumstances. On the whole, the court finds that there is a sufficient showing of a change in financial circumstances to grant Miss Massey's request to review the issue of child support. Therefore, her motion will be granted in part solely as to that issue. The issue of child support will be referred to the friend of the court for a review and recommendation. The parties are to provide all requested documents to the friend of the court for that review. After that review is completed, the friend of the court will make a recommendation regarding child support, to which either parent may file an objection. To the extent there is actual proof that Rihanna is not attending high school full-time, that would be a good time certainly to submit that proof. But at this point, the court is under the impression that the child is attending high school full-time. Otherwise, the effective date for any modification of child support will be retroactive to the date that plaintiff filed her motion, which is June 29th of this year. I will issue a referee recommendation in order, memorializing what I've just put on the record. It will be forwarded to the assigned judge to be signed. You'll both get a copy of it. You'll both have the opportunity to file an objection and have a hearing on this issue in front of the assigned judge, provided you file your objection within 21 days.